there are logistic companies based in different continents like China, US, Israel, and other maybe European countries. And in this video, our guest Amit from Rosenthal Logistic Company will give you an ideas, an overview, what to pay attention to when you are choosing the logistics provider. He will give you some tips what, for example, Chinese logistic company could not provide you with, and also what, for example, a US-based company would not be able to help you with. And also our guest and the co-host, Liz at least, they will be talking about recent incident where almost 2,000 containers were lost in the ocean, and how important is to have insurance for such case. So enjoy this conversation and check the links below for the Rosenthal company, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel of Klik, because here we talk to different Amazon experts and software creators.
Hello, Amit. It's nice to have you here today. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us how you help Amazon sellers?
Thank you for having me here. Always a pleasure, by the way. So my name is Amit Rosenthal. I'm an owner of Rosenthal Logistics Company. We are handling logistics for Amazon sellers and for e-commerce sellers in general. We are focused on logistics and 3PL services. We are trying to help sellers by optimizing their shipping cost and optimizing the shipping plan in general, provide better advice on how to ship the goods, where, when, what shipping method, and so on.
And today you will share your thoughts about 3PLs of different origins, so from different countries, let's say from China, from Israel, from US. But before we go into that, I wanted to ask you, could you briefly explain what a 3PL is and why Amazon sellers need one?
First of all, I want to be more accurate. I want to discuss about freight forwarding and not 3PL, all right? But in general, 3PL services is required for everyone today, for everyone, because Amazon put a limitation on the number of units you can send into Amazon. So if your production, let's say 1,000 units, so you for sure will need to have 3PL to rather store your goods and then send to Amazon whenever necessary, or B, do full FBM. So this is why to choose a 3PL, and this is the reason 3PL is basically available for customers.
Okay, so I don't know how you want to approach this topic. Perhaps let's go and imagine I'm an Amazon seller and I have to hire a freight forwarder or logistics company. So I manufacture my goods in China. So what are my options overall?
So your overall options are basically basically you have some, let's say 3 to 4 options, all right? First option is to ask your supplier, all right, to send your goods to wherever, all right, Amazon warehouse, wherever. Second option is to go to Alibaba or to go to Facebook, community, and check for a recommendation for freight forwarder in China. Third option is to locate freight forwarders, which also have offices in China, all right, but not a Chinese company like us. And the fourth option is to hire or find a freight forwarder in the destination country. If we're talking now about United States, all right, so to find the American freight forwarder. There is a difference, in my opinion. The biggest difference is cultural difference, all right? When we're talking and when we are working with Chinese people, we need to adapt ourselves to their system, and I will cover it shortly. When we're working with, let's say, Israeli companies that having offices in the US and in China, so of course we as Israeli have our own mentality, all right, and our own culture, and we need to adapt to our side. And if we're working with US or American-based companies, so we need to understand their culture, what they are looking for, and how they work, all right? But in general, all right, and now I'm putting for one second the cultural side and how to work with them. The biggest, in my opinion, the biggest thing sellers would like to have, all right, is transparency in regard to the goods location, right? Because eventually seller, rather, by the way, you're a seller or you just now buying, I don't know, product from Amazon, you want to know where is your merchandise are going to my place now, right? Does it already shipped out from Amazon? Does it already shipped out from United States? Did it arrive to my destination country, and so on? So transparency is a key to success in logistics business, right? So the main problem that sellers will face with Chinese people, and I'm telling you, I have vast experience in this regard, all right? The main problem that sellers will face with working with Chinese freight forwarders, the main obstacle will be transparency in regard to the cargo location and delivery time to the destination, right? If we are working with a US company, so if the goods will arrive, of course, to the United States, they should have, I don't know if they will have, it's dependent on the company, but they should have better transparency on what is going on in destination country and in regard to delivery itself. But the transparency in China, if the goods were already collected, did it arrive to the warehouse, did it shipped out? Just think about the difference in time zone, because if we are talking about people living in the west coast of the States, they're waking up when the Chinese people are going to sleep, all right, or already sleep. So you always miss a day, at least a day, until you get some information. And again, based on my experience only, sellers want to know information now, all right? Not tomorrow, not in 2 days time. They want the information today and now.
I would say that they usually want the information yesterday.
yeah, exactly. So in my opinion, and as a company owner, I'm trying, as an Israeli, I'm living exactly between China and the United States. I'm talking about the time itself, right? So in my opinion, the biggest advantage to working with Israeli company or company, let's say even if in the UK, freight forward in the UK, that they still manage to work half a day with the Chinese people before they're going to sleep, and they have at least half a day to work with the US citizens or Canadian citizens. So it's a big advantage in this regard, because we can move forward things need to do in China, and we can still move forward things need to do in the United States based on our zone time, right? So this is a big advantage. In regard to working with Chinese in general, all right, I don't think I'm the first one that will say it. Chinese people, it's taking a long time to build a relationship with them, with trust, or let's say trust relationship, all right? Because Chinese people always, I'm telling you, always will be in favor to their own company and to their own Chinese people, right? So sometimes they provide information which is not exactly correct, all right? I prefer to leave it like this, all right? Which is not exactly correct in order to show it better in front of the client, all right? But the situation is not exactly like what they said. So especially for sellers with lack of experience in regard to logistics, it's very easy to tell them a story which is incorrect in order to give them the feeling that everything is okay, right? So you need to understand when you work with Chinese people, you need to understand, first of all, they always will be in favor to themselves. Second of all, I can say I'm working also with a lot of Chinese workers. I have Chinese workers of my own, all right? It takes time, and you need to understand, let's say that if you request some information from a Chinese freight forwarder, and the freight forwarder doesn't reply to you, all right? It doesn't reply once, it doesn't reply twice. It means eventually that it doesn't want to reply to you, all right? So that means you need to now to act with him differently in order to get the information that you would like, all right? So this is true in regard also to sourcing, in regard to working with manufacturers, and in regard to working with freight forwarders, all right? I cannot say that working with Chinese freight forwarder is not good, because there is good Chinese freight forwarders. There is scammers like in every field, all right? But but if it doesn't mean, all right, it doesn't mean that if you're manufacturing the goods in China, the best solution for you is to find a local Chinese freight forwarder. Sometimes it's better to find other freight forwarder that can do, let's say, they can link, all right, you the information you receive from the Chinese freight forwarder and make it easier for you to understand what is going on, especially in the field that you don't understand, right? Maybe it's better to choose an American freight forwarder that you can understand better his language, you can understand better his culture, you pick up the phone and call them and get more information. So it's hard for me to say better to choose Chinese freight forwarder or better to choose American freight forwarder. In my opinion, the best thing when you choose a service provider in general, first of all, is to check his cost, all right? Let's say if you're working now with a freight forwarder, you have a good experience with him. So if the rate will be $100 less, it will not bring you any benefit, right? For the long term, it will not bring you any added value. The biggest added value you can get from a freight forwarder, again, is to have somebody, a key contact that you can rely on when things go wrong, all right? Because in the logistics, all the time things get wrong. I'm telling you, we discussed this, by the way, before we started this video. In logistics, everything always got wrong, and the main job of the freight forwarder is to find you a solution, right? The right solution on the right time, meaning you need to have somebody that you can trust, all right? I don't say you cannot trust Chinese people. It's totally not correct. There is a very good Chinese freight forwarders. There is very good Chinese people that I specifically know. But again, there is a big different culture, and we need to understand, we apply for a Chinese freight forwarder, we need to understand the difference in the culture and to act accordingly. Last thing I can say in regard to Chinese freight forwarder, that a new seller usually asks their supplier, listen, you can ship me the goods. So the supplier will say, yeah, no problem. But what the supplier will do, they will ask Chinese freight forwarder they know to handle it on their behalf, right? Because they know only to manufacture the goods. So eventually what will go, that you will have, again, a lack of transparency in regard to the positioning of your goods, because the shipper or the supplier will have to ask the freight forwarder will have to advise it to the supplier. And also sometimes sellers believe that if they apply to the manufacturer itself, they will get or receive better rate than if they choose other freight forwarders. And this is totally wrong, because I'm telling you for 1000%, all right, that if a seller choosing the manufacturer to sell the goods in, so the manufacturer will add a profit on top of the rate he will receive from the Chinese freight forwarder. So eventually you should compare between rates. You should find somebody that you have a good communication with, you think is honest, you think you can rely on when necessary. In my opinion, this is the things when you choose a freight forwarder.
Okay, very good. Is there any way to double check, I don't know, the background of the freight forwarding company, like some kind of ratings? Is there perhaps a database, or you would just recommend to go out, let's say, to Facebook groups and forums to see what the experience has been previously? Because I mean, it sounds it's kind of difficult to find out the perfect one for the business.
Yeah. First of all, no one is perfect. Yeah, but yeah, like there is also in Alibaba, there is Chinese freight forwarder who can choose on. Doesn't mean that there is scammers. And tango. I heard stories and read stories about freight forwarder was implemented on Alibaba platform, which was scammers eventually. And what I'm meaning by scammers is not the goods were disappeared, but they said, for instance, quotation was $100 per CBM. You have 5 CBM, total $500, and then when the goods picked up, it became $200 per CBM, all right? So in my opinion, this is a scam, all right? Best thing to do is like Google it or check with Facebook communities, check for other sellers' opinion, do your research, like everything. There is also Freightos platform you can choose on or check for freight forwarder. But eventually, like everything, you need to do your research, you need to check carefully, you need to apply for a rate request, see the response time from the freight forwarder itself, see the communication, see if the freight forwarder provide you a legit information. In my opinion, this is how to check and to examine if a freight forwarder should be okay or is a scammer.
When shipping goods from China to US, do the US companies have any kind of special plus points in front of, let's say, choosing a Chinese company?
Like American citizens, I can say that American citizens for sure will prefer to work with US companies, all right? I can say definitely that we are based in Israel. Most of our clients are Israeli, mainly because Israelis would like to provide job and money to Israeli companies. So Americans are exactly the same. Americans will prefer to choose US-based company, mainly because of trust issues, all right, with the Chinese. Easy access, to the freight forwarder. You can pick up the phone, same time zone. Definitely in this regard. Again, if you check with the Facebook community, there is everything like American sellers choosing Chinese freight forwarder, Canadian sellers choosing American freight forwarders. I don't know. I have customer from Estonia, I have customer from Poland, I have customer from Ukraine, I have customer from Canada. Everyone chooses his freight forwarder by his own mean. But again, in my opinion, eventually, as a logistics owner, we are first of all service provider. As a service provider, my first goal, all right, is to be transparent in regard to the whole logistics chain from point A to point Z, all right? Sometimes I provide information which is not, let's say, not make the client happy, all right? But this is the situation, right? So in my opinion, transparency is the key in order to have good collaboration for the long term with sellers. Rate is also a critical point, but again, if you are comparing three companies, all the companies are freight forwarders, all right? From one you receive $2,000, the other one $2,100, and the third one $1,900. The difference in rate is not significant, all right? The most significant side of it is the response time, the communication, how you get information, and so on.
Okay, so regarding testing communication, would it be then a good idea to reach out to several companies at one time with a certain email to ask certain questions and then evaluate how they respond, what's the speed of their response, and also maybe you have any good ideas what sellers could ask from the companies in order to make sure they offer the service they are expecting?
Yeah, first of all, 100% I advise it, all right? Of course, this is for new sellers. If you are also expert sellers and you're working with two freight forwarder, one freight forwarder for, 3 to 5 years, so I will not suggest to start comparing between freight forwarders, all right? We're talking here about new sellers or sellers looking for a new freight forwarder. Communication. Ask for a rate, all right? Open a shipping plan, ask for rate, see the response time, see how quickly they provide you rates, what is the additional information they provide you, all right? I can say that now there is major delays in the US, all right, because of several issues in Los Angeles port. So freight forwarder from China, for instance, will advise you, no problem, the transit time remains 20 to 22 days, but this is totally bullshit, all right? The transit time became almost double, all right? So if one freight forwarder say you one thing and the other freight forwarder advise you somebody something totally different, all right? So it should alert you that some of them tell the truth, all right? How should I find out who is telling the truth now? All right, ask for another freight forwarder, check for his advice, all right? And then you can compare it and take the total overview, because in general, freight forwarder would like to add more customers, get more shipments, because we are working on volume, all right? So in my opinion, again, as the company owner, if I will tell you as a seller, the transit time will be 20 days and eventually it will be 45 days, you will not work with me for your next shipment. So I prefer, this is my personal opinion, right? I prefer to provide you transparent situation, all right, in regard to logistics, in regard to lead time, in regard to rate. If you choose a different freight forwarder, all right, no problem. But I prefer to go sleep well at night than tell stories, and eventually the seller will have bad feeling. Eventually, this is the worst, in my opinion.
Okay, great. So I don't know if you have anything else to add about this topic, but I wanted to ask you one question regarding the latest news. So how often does it happen that a container falls into the sea or the containers get lost on their way to US? So perhaps you can comment this.
Yeah, so last month, right, there was a vessel, shipping line 1, right? They ran into a storm in close to Hawaii area, and 1900 containers fall off the vessel into the water. I think it was the second major situation was ever recorded, same situation. Once read there was 2,300 containers fall into water, but it's not something that shipping line customs that happened, all right? So it's not something on a daily basis working, but it's a good lesson for sellers to add insurance to their cargo, all right? Because logistics chain, again, I'm not talking about now Rosenthal or other company, okay? Even if I'm taking UPS, for example, or DHL, which is the biggest freight forwarder in the world, right? They don't have vessels, all right? They have planes, they have trucks, but they don't have vessels. Meaning that there is no freight forwarder in the world that can cover you all the logistics chain inside, right? Meaning everybody uses subcontractors, right? So you can, for instance, choose a freight forwarder, US American freight forwarder, right? American freight forwarder. Now, eventually, they ask for a Chinese tracker, all right, in North China to pick up goods in a supplier in Northern China, all right? The manufacturer or the driver itself take the cartons and throw it to the truck, all right? Now the carton's been damaged, all right? Another situation can happen, the container enter to the port and the forklift at the port bring up the container and the container fall and all the goods are damaged. Many things can occur during the logistics change, all right? So no freight forwarder in the world can cover everything, and it will not cover any damage unless you add insurance, all right? Just to give you, insurance cost is 0.3% normally from goods value, right? With minimum $40. So if your goods value, let's say, is around $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, all right, your insurance cost will be something between $40 to $80. Like, come on, like, add the insurance, all right? Better to sleep well at night than then wake up, I don't know, whenever, read about an article that 1,900 containers fall into water, you didn't add any insurance, nobody will cover your goods, right? Understand it. Nobody will cover your goods unless you add insurance or insurance policy to your shipment. So I have a lot of discussion about it on the sellers. $40, I don't want to add $40. I don't know, it's decrease my margin. come on, like honestly. Everything can happen. Remember that in the logistics, everything can happen. Nobody knows when it will happen, all right? If you had 10 good shipments, doesn't mean that your 11th will not be disaster, all right? Remember it. So if you're looking for a business, all right, and you want to have a legit business as an Amazon seller or in the e-commerce world, in my opinion, adding insurance is a must. It's not an option, it's a must.
Okay, I'm really glad I brought up this topic because I think these kind of accidents and incidents don't ask the origin of the freight forwarders company. So it really doesn't matter from which company or from which country you are getting the service from. So insurance, as I understood, is one of the most important things. So thank you very much for. Go ahead.
Can I add another thing in this regard?
Sure.
Remember one thing. If you are request for insurance, a marine insurance, all right, from let's say Chinese freight forwarder, remember that eventually if you will need to claim against the insurance company, that the claim will be at China insurance company. I'm not sure you would like to start negotiate with Chinese insurance company, all right? So in my opinion, in this regard, if you're choosing a freight forwarder, as somebody from the Western world, it will be easier for you to negotiate with the insurance company and the policy and so on than do it in China. Maybe if you are a UK citizen, check for an insurance company in the UK. If you are American citizens as well, if you are Canada as well. But adding insurance to your cargo with a Chinese freight forwarder, I don't see much benefit from it, honestly, because when you need to claim the insurance, so we'll have difficulties to receive the money back.
Okay, good information. Very good. So if viewers have questions regarding the insurance or overall logistics, then what's the best way to reach out to you? And could you once more explain what do you do in Rosenthal Logistics to help Amazon sellers?
Yeah. So first of all, what we are doing, we are doing logistics to Amazon sellers from wherever you manufacture the goods and bring it to FBA center, 3PL warehouses, or any other area you want to sell the goods at. We are trying to optimize the shipping cost and the shipping plan in behalf of the customer, especially these days with all limitation provided by Amazon in regard to how many units you can enter into FBA center. And you can contact us via my email, WhatsApp, telephone number, Messenger, Facebook, Twitter, and any other platform available for us. I will share my information below.
Okay, be ready for all the emails and calls then. So
yeah,
we wish good luck into your business.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time as always.
I do hope this conversation was useful for you. And if you're looking for logistics company for your e-commerce business, Amazon business, check Rosenthal. You will find the links and contacts below in the description. They will be happy to give you a quote or help with your logistic questions. And now I would like to invite you to watch the other video we did about logistics, also with Amit, and maybe you will learn something more and get some good tips. See you.